Welcome to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your own. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the show where we are talking about part 2 of why you are doing the work and the work isn't working. If you haven't listened to part 1, I suggest that you do because these are going to kind of stack up on top of one another. But if you're here and you're like, let's just roll, we're going to roll. And the premise behind this is that one of the biggest things when people pop into my inbox or they book calls on my calendar or they want to work with me is like, I feel like I've been doing this work, but I'm not getting the results, right? Or sometimes on occasion, my clients will be like, okay, Ryan, I'm doing the things. Why is nothing happening? And so I have really been reflecting over what that coaching wise looks like for my clients, but then also my own journey, right? I often tell the story of I could teach a masterclass on intentional reality creation before I was actually doing it. And so these were the things that I found that as I started to clean these up, my results actually started to mirror and dictate what I wanted to see. And one of the things I need you to do with this content, and I tell you guys at the beginning of every podcast, is I need you to listen to this like once to listen, but then actually go back and study it and think about it. It's something that we do a lot inside of the Facebook group is really thinking about, or I've just recently started doing this, like, how do we do this work? Nobody teaches us how to study ourselves. Like, I don't even remember, quite honestly, being taught how to like study in school, to be 100% honest. But how do I study myself? Like, how do I do this work? How do I sit down and really contemplate and think? So I have been actually inside of my private Facebook group. It's called the Backstage Pass. And I have been kind of putting up contemplations every day of the podcast, like what's going on. And I share how I do this work, like what comes up for me when I sit down and I do these reflection questions or I have these conversations. And that's what really leads to this body of work. So let's dive in. So I'm going to just go 1 through 5, but it's really 6 through 10. Okay. So number one, the number one reason, no, I'm going to go with number 6. My body's like, nope, we're not doing that, right? Nope, we're not doing that. Number six, you've put a timeline on it. The reason why the work isn't working is because you have put a timeline on it. And that is so counterintuitive because, SMART goals are nothing but specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based, right? They have to be time-based. And the reason why I think timelines just put pressure, right? Again, it instantly creates a gap. It instantly creates, I am here and I need to be there by the end of this month. So I have however many days are left in the month, 16 days left in the month, and I'm only 20% to my goal, and it just winds up wreaking havoc. And I know you know what I'm talking about. And you're like, I'm going to be there by the end of this year. And here we are, right? We're halfway through September as you're listening to this, and it's not the end of the year, and you're maybe not 2/3 of the way to your goal, and you're freaking out because you think you're not going to get there because I didn't do 2/3 in the first 2/3 of the year, so how am I going to do more in the last 1/3 of the year? That timeline instantly sends you into a loop of lack, instantly sends you a loop of it's not working, instantly sends you into a loop of I'm not going to get there by the time that I want. And that is what is causing so much havoc for so many people. And again, it's very challenging to let go of because you're like, again, I'm running a business or I have a career or the calendar does work on years or I really do need to pay my mortgage or pay payroll by this date, that date, and this date. So what do we do with that? We have to detach from it as much as possible. This is a little esoteric, but time is theoretically made up, right? Like one of my primary lessons in my Uncensored Self Discovery program is called The Power of Now, right? And really understanding that the only moment that you have is right here, right now, right? The only moment that you have is this present moment, right? This present moment is it. The past is gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. An hour from now isn't here yet. 5 minutes from now isn't here yet. And so if we can really focus on, if I take care of the present moment, like it is the most precious thing that I have, then I'm inevitably going to get to my goal. And that's what I want you to do when we talk about releasing the timeline. I'm not saying don't hit a goal. I'm not saying don't aim for $1 million year or whatever that is, right? Don't aim for X number of transactions this year. Don't not aim to be in that corner office or have this number of assets under management or this amount of money in my, 401k or my retirement. Like, I'm not saying not to do that. I'm saying to do that, to set the intention, to find the vision, to find the feeling, and then let it go. Because the only moment that you can impact the future is right now. And if you can learn that the only moment I can impact the future, whether it's the future I want to impact 5 minutes from now or 5 years from now, is in the present moment. It is the only time that I have. And so if I believe, if you went through 1 through 5, right? If I'm the one who believes I'm creating my reality and I'm the one who believes that I'm showing up and doing this, the thoughts that I think in this moment are creating my reality. So the only problem you actually have is that you're saying I'm 2/3 of the way through the year and I'm not 2/3 of the way to my goal. Therefore, I'm not going to hit my goal. You've made the timeline the problem. Instead of saying in this present moment, I believe that I'm going to hit my goal. I am going to hit my goal. I'm the only one who's in charge of hitting my goal. Why wouldn't I hit my goal? I'm the one creating this. Of course I'm going to hit my goal. That is how we release timelines. But when you are stuck with the idea of, but I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, it winds up creating stress and lack. And then also this competitive energy, right? Like now I have to go do something. Now I go into really strong masculine energy, or doer energy is what I call it in my feminine energy archetypes, right? We go really strongly into that masculine energy, and then we feel like we have to go do something to make it happen. And we are completely out of alignment with actually playing the energy game, right? So when you look at the calendar and you say, I only have X amount of time left and I'm not there yet, I'm going to go try as hard as I possibly can to change it and to fix it, you have lost the energy game altogether. You are back in the mind game. Not to say that you can't create in the mind game, right? I say this often. I believe personally that your results are inevitable. It is, are you going to get there the hard way through stress and anxiety and all of the things, or are you going to get there through the path of least resistance? That's the only choice you're making. In my head, you're getting there anyway. And if you could wrap your head around that, like, it would change your entire life, like everything. Like, of course it's going to happen. Of course I'm going to hit my goal. It's just a matter of me getting aligned with it. Such a powerful, powerful thing. Okay. Reason number 7, why you don't have the results. You are comparing yourself to other people. You are comparing yourself to other people. And I don't even know where to start with this. I'm like, I could do an entire podcast on this, right? But here's what I want to tell you about this. When you look at somebody else and you think, oh, well, that person started her business the same time I started my business and she's making X amount and I'm only making Y, I must be doing it wrong, or I'm not good enough, right? Or that person hasn't been a real estate agent for as long as I have, but she's being so successful. What's wrong with me, right? Or that person's content is better than mine on social media. That's why she gets more clients than I do. That person kisses ass in the office. That's why she got tapped for that promotion. There's nothing good that can come out of comparing yourself to someone else. Because even if you're comparing yourself to somebody else and saying that you're better than them, that's also not the right energy, right? The energy of I'm better than all these people is kind of a dickhead energy. There's a confidence to it, right? There's a little bit of swagger to it, which is certainly better than saying, hey, I suck and I'm not any good and that person's better than me. It still is not the idea of like, you are running your own race. You are writing your own story. It is just you in there. The only person whose point of attraction, whose results, whose thoughts, feelings, and actions you have control over is yours. And so to look at somebody else and think that you should be doing what they're doing when you don't know their thoughts, you don't know their stories, you don't know their programs, is the most bananas things we do as humans. Right? What I like to do when I look at other people is I just see them as an example of what's possible. I literally just coached a private client through this the other day because she's a real estate agent. And she has big goals and she wants to hit the highest level, of recognition inside of her brokerage. And so, but she was admitted to me that like, hey, sometimes Ryan, I look at the rankings and it pisses me off because I know I'm a better agent, or, I have been doing it longer. What do I do instead? And I said, I just see those people as an example of what's possible. Like if there is somebody out there that is killing it, cool. Awesome. Celebrate that. What you focus on expands. When you celebrate winners, you win. When you celebrate people doing well, you do well. It is always attraction based. So when you look at somebody else and you have envy, or you're frustrated, or you're mad, or you talk shit, or you make them wrong, all you do is put yourself in that energy, and all you're available is that. It's gross. And you know it. You've experienced it. You feel it in your body. That's why you feel so gross. When you get into envy and jealousy and comparison, you feel disgusting because it is a disgusting energy. So when I see other people in the world who are killing it, I'm like, awesome, go get it. That's amazing. Because again, I want to flow energy towards what I want. And so I want to win. So I cheer on winners because winners cheer on winners. Winners know that there's no competition, right? To me, there is no such thing as competition. It is just me in here. I am the only one who can create what I want to create. I do not believe in shortage. I do not believe in lack. I do not believe that somebody can steal a client from me or take an idea from me, because nobody has my energy. Nobody has my experience. Nobody has my perspective. Nobody has my heart. There is no such thing as competition or comparison. And the only thing it does is keep you from getting what you want. So if you are looking around in the outside world and comparing yourself to other people and telling yourself that you're not good enough and you're not smart enough, and why can't you figure it out like that person, that is why the work is not working for you, because you are looking at somebody else who you know nothing about. You have no context. You have nothing. It's just the story you're telling yourself. That's the wild part of it too. Not only are you comparing yourself to somebody else, which is killing your energy, you actually have no context. The comparison and the story that you tell yourself about that person when you look at them is actually also totally made up. And I know this to be true because that was the case in my business partnership. The reason why I walked away from my business partner, despite doing $800,000 in revenue in the first 10 months in the business, is because I learned that while this woman was on the internet telling people that she was killing it and she was crushing it and she had all this time off and she was such a good leader and her team loved her so much, I discovered that behind the scenes, she was working 80-hour work weeks, existing on Doritos and Diet Coke, and text messaging her team on Christmas, asking them if they did their follow-ups. it was like, ooh, I gotta go, right? So often you are even comparing yourself to somebody that you have no context as to what's going on behind closed doors. Even me, I'm the most open, vulnerable person that as I can possibly be, as long as it doesn't impact other people, right? But you still have no context of what goes on in my house. You still have no context of that. So when you think about it like that, like it's all just a made up story. So why don't I tell a made up story about that person of how grateful I am for them for being an example of what's possible? How much I love seeing other women in business succeed, how much I love seeing other women go before me because it shows me that it's available. And that energy is instantly going to change things. And of course, it's going to change your results, right? Number eight, the reason number eight, you don't have what you want or the work isn't working is because you are trying to fix yourself. You are trying to fix yourself. You think there is something wrong. I just have to fix this money thing. I just have to fix this business thing. I just need to get through this project, right? And you have everything in this mode of fixer. What is the energy of I am fixing something or I am broken? It is one of lack. It is one of limitation. It is one of stuckness. It's one of not good enough. Right. And I speak to this one very, very often because this was very much my journey, right? That was quite literally my journey was I started a personal development journey because I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why do I keep creating massive success and then lighting my life on fire? Why do I keep doing this to myself? What is wrong with me? I must be broken. There must be something out there. And I went looking for something to fix. And so I found the most incredible gift in the world in learning this work and starting to study universal law and the work that I did with Stacy. But then also what wound up happening is I was constantly trying to fix myself and heal myself. If I fix myself, I'm coming from an energy of broken. If I'm trying to heal myself, I'm coming from an energy of unhealed. What I put out, I get back. So if I'm broken and I put out broken energy and I got to fix it and I got to solve it and I got to figure it out, I'm always putting out broken energy and then I'm always an energetic match for the problem. So if you are like, I just need to fix this one thing and everything's going to be okay, that is the reason why the work isn't working. And again, I have been so candid with you guys. That was my story with money up until very, very recently, right? Whereas like everything else is great. I just need to fix this money thing. And it was my mentor who finally held up the fucking mirror and was like, Rye, stop telling yourself that you have a money problem. You don't. You've generated quite literally millions of dollars from your own ideas, your own concepts, the own things that you've created. Like you've created an audience of tens of thousands of people. It's not a problem. It's just a story. And I was like, holy fucking bananas, you are right. Right. So the more that you tell yourself that you are broken or that something needs to be fixed or that something isn't right, the more that you are going to say, the more that you're going to see that. Okay. The more that you're going to see that. And that's why you're not getting the results that you desire. Cool. Number 9, you're waiting and wanting. You are waiting and wanting. Once I make this much money, once the kids are older, once things calm down, once I get through this project, my mentor used to call this if then thinking, right? If then thinking, if this happens, then I'll do this. If this happens, then I'll do this, right? What is that energy? What is waiting energy? When I'm waiting for something to happen, I am fully aware of it's not happening. I'm actually not 100% sure that it's going to happen. And it always feels in the future and outside of me. Remember what I talked about before. The only time that you have is now. So I'm not waiting for my results. I'm watching. I am watching it unfold. I am watching it happen. I am moving towards it every single day. I'm not waiting to have a multi-million-dollar business. I am building a multi-million-dollar business. And the energy behind those two things is wild, right? How often are we like, well, I'm waiting for the business to take off? This is kind of similar to the last one, right? This is why they're kind of all stacking on top of one another. But waiting and wanting and all of that is coming from an energy of lack. When I'm waiting for something else to change before I am willing to step in the identity of the creator of my reality, I am not acting as the creator. I am not an energetic match for what I want. And I cannot possibly call in anything differently but the energy of waiting. And so the shift here is really simple. We go from waiting to watching, waiting to building, waiting to working on, right? I even prefer working on, right? I'm working on building a multi-million-dollar business, right? Like I say that to myself in my head a million times a day. I'm building a multi-million-dollar business. I'm not waiting. I'm not hoping. I'm not crossing my fingers. Like that is quite literally what I wake up every morning and tell myself that I am doing. And I believe that every single day I am becoming an energetic match to that. And that is the focus. If I were waiting for something outside of me to tell me, to show me the evidence of the fact that I'm building a multi-million-dollar business, I would constantly feel like shit because I'm not there yet, right? I would constantly look at my revenue and my P&L and be like, I'm not there yet. So what? Right? Like when you go to build a house, houses are such perfect examples of this, right? When you go to build a house, if you've ever done that before, I built a house back in 2017 with my ex-husband, right? When you go to build a house, there's a process of building a house, right? You make an offer, the offer gets accepted, all the things, and there's a waiting period, right? Like you do have to wait for that to happen. But the whole time, the house is being built, right? And right now, it might just be a hole in the ground, or maybe it's just a basement or a foundation, depending on where you live, right? And then it's just the framing, and then it's just this, and then it's just that. And then all of a sudden, it's a full-grown motherfucking house. But at no point in time did we ever doubt that the house was going to arrive. Like once they dug the hole, We were like, cool, this is a house. I know what the house is going to look like. I already bought the house. I already invested in the house. I already chose the house. I already chose the carpet and the windows and the cabinets and all the things. I already did all of that. I am just watching it unfold. I'm watching them build my house. That is how I want you to view every single goal and dream that you have. You are watching it come to fruition. You get up every single day knowing that this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, and I'm watching it come in. And that will change your energy so much, right? And the final one, and I've said this in almost every example that I have given you, is that you are not embodying the creator identity. You're not embodying the creator identity. And what do I mean by that? You, again, this goes back to where I talked about in the last one, where it's like, you don't believe that you're the one creating it. You're not acting like you're the one creating it. You still think that there is something outside of you that is dictating your results. So if you go into a sales conversation and you think, well, gosh, I hope they buy. What? You're the creator of your reality. You're going to get on a sales call and cross your fingers that they buy? Stop it, right? Like, you're the creator of your reality. I hope I hit my goal. No. You're the creator of your reality. I hope that client isn't an asshole to me. Do you see what's happening here? When you believe that you are the creator of your reality and what shows up in your reality can only show up if you're an energetic match to it, you no longer entertain those thoughts, those questions, those stories. And I'm not saying that this is easy. I know that I'm simplifying this for you, but it is that simple, right? I tell my clients all the time, this is the simplest hard work that you will ever do. Because it is so simple. You're the one creating it. You don't like it, you created it. You don't like it, you created it. You don't like it, you created it. And I think the challenge we have with this is it's a radical personal responsibility. We have to admit the things that we have been avoiding. We have to admit the victim stories that we continue to tell. We have to take ownership, and that's hard, right? Especially if you created things that you really don't care for. Especially if you're in a place where you feel really stuck. Like when I started doing this work, I was in a really dark place in my life, and there was a whole lot going on that felt really heavy and really hard. And so it is so hard to look at that. And, I'm overweight. My marriage is falling apart. I've gone from a $1.2 million year to money leaking everywhere, like the shame and the guilt and the everything. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? What am I going to do? How am I going to fix it? Right? Like none of those things say that I'm the one creating it. So we first have to take ownership. I'm the one that created this. The fact that I continue to give my attention to shit that I don't want and tell myself the story that I don't know whether or not I'm going to get what I don't want is not the embodiment of somebody who believes that they're the one creating it. And so if you could get, of all 10 of these, if this was the one that you got, was that if all I have to do moment by moment by moment is decide, what do I want? How does it feel? What do I want? How does it feel? What do I want? How does it feel? And lock in on that. Your whole world will change. But I'm going to give you an example I give to a private client yesterday, and I really love this. We were talking about, I used intentional reality creation, and I'll end on this thought. This one's a little shorter than I thought. But I want you to think of it like, you're flying from LA to New York, right? You're going to take a plane from Los Angeles, California to New York. Maybe you're flying to LaGuardia. Doesn't matter. You know that when you take off on that plane from LA to New York, that you're going to end up in New York. You never question that, right? I bought my ticket. I got on the plane. I'm going to New York. But then something happens and, oh my God, we've got really bad weather in New York and we're not going to be able to circle. We don't have enough fuel. So we're actually going to stop down in Chicago and we're going to fuel up. And we're going to wait for the storm to pass, right? So we stop down in Chicago, we fuel up, we wait for the storm to pass. Eventually we get back up into the air. And then actually we get to New York and the storm hasn't passed. So we have to divert. We have to circle a little bit. This happened to us recently when we went to Denver with my girlfriends. We have to circle a little bit, right? And then we end up in New York, right? There was never a point in time that you thought you weren't going to end up in New York. You might have been frustrated. You might have been annoyed. You might have missed your connecting flight. You might have missed that important meeting, right? Like, so I'm not saying that the stop in Chicago wasn't inconvenient. I'm not saying that the, flying around on top of the city wasn't inconvenient. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you never stopped believing that you were going to end up in New York, right? What we have a tendency to do is we get on the plane in LA, we go on our way to New York, and when we stop down in Chicago, we're like, well, fuck, we might as well turn around and go home. They stopped us in Chicago. We're in the right place. Oh my God, they're going to take me back. They're going to take me. I'm not going to make it to New York. And I'm not going to get there. How do I fix this? What do I do? I got to get to New York. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. Put your goal in there. I'm on my way to this type of business, or I'm on my way to this amount of money, or I'm on my way to this particular promotion. And then there's a pit stop. And we've actually got to stop and fuel up because we need the fuel because it's what keeps us safe, but it's an inconvenience. So we make it inconvenient. And then we are fearful that we are going to go back to LA. So we spend all of our time worrying about, talking about, thinking about, oh my God, I'm on my way back to LA. I'm not going to make it to New York. Ah! That's why you don't have what you want. That's why you don't have what you want. That is why the work is not working, because you think that the plane is going to turn around and go back instead of thinking this is just part of the journey. This is just part of the journey. It's part of the story. Makes for a good story, right? When we were circling over Denver when I was with my girlfriends back in July, what was I telling myself? That there's a reason we're not on that ground. There's a reason we're not there. Either it's not safe, right? So thank God for the technology that keeps us up in the air, that keeps us safe, right? Or there is something happening on the ground in Denver. We're not supposed to be where we're supposed to be at a certain amount of time. You get to tell the story. So I can tell the story that, oh my God, we're circling. Let's go back to my New York example. Circling New York. This is so annoying. This is so frustrating. This is so inconvenient. This airline sucks, right? Gross. But what most people, how most of us go through the world, right? Or I can think, this is not convenient. This is not what I wanted. This was not what I quite had in mind when I was on my way to New York, but I have to assume that there's a reason why. I have to assume that there's it's not safe. I'm not supposed to be there. It's not time yet. It's not ready for me yet, right? One of my favorite quotes I quote to my clients almost every time we talk, and nothing in life has any meaning except for the meaning that you give it. Nothing in life has any meanings except for the meaning that you give it. So if you're circling around New York, bitching, moaning, and complaining, okay, my son would call you a Karen, for the record. He's 8. If you're all Karen up in the air, then yeah. And then you're also the person, your luggage is going to get lost. You're going to get stuck behind the old people in the wheelchair. When you make it to you're going to get motion sick. You know what I'm talking about. You've been there. Instead of just, hey, it's all going to work out. Everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me, even when it doesn't make sense, even when I get a no, even when I don't get there on time, even when we have to make a pit stop, even when, I was really disappointed by this thing that happened. That's what we need to do. Just because it didn't unfold exactly the way that you thought it was going to unfold doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. And if you can get that through your big, beautiful brain, all of a sudden, all of this will click and will start to work. The challenge is that most of us don't even realize what we're saying and what we're doing and what we're thinking. And that is why I find so much value in mentorship, is because, and I just told you that, with my coach, she's been holding the mirror up for me. And I'm like, well, shit, it's things I didn't even realize, things that have become so habitual that I have said so much that I didn't realize how much it was hurting me. I didn't realize how much it was keeping me from getting my results. I didn't realize how much havoc it was wreaking. And I've done this with 3 new clients in the past couple of weeks where in our first 30 minutes, I'm like, I can tell you exactly why you're not where you want to be, because you said this, and this. All of those things tell me that you are not at all in alignment with where you want to go. And they're all just like, well, fuck. Right. And so that's why I love this work. The work is extremely simple, but so many of our thoughts and our programs are habits. They happen so unconsciously that you don't realize that you're doing it until somebody tells you that you're doing it, right? When you're flying around, circling over New York City and you're inconvenienced and you're mad, you think you're within your rights to be inconvenienced and mad. And you are, right? One of my favorite Abraham quotes, I've probably said this before here on the show. She often says, you can be right and it still isn't serving you. Yeah, it is unacceptable. And well, it's not unacceptable. It's not great that we're circling over New York City and we're 5 hours late because we had to stop in Chicago for fuel. But ain't nobody can control the weather. That's God's job, but we're mad. And then it's just bananas to me, right? So anyway, all of that to say, if you feel like, Ryan, I hear all of this and it's still not you need somebody to mirror back to you what you're saying and where you're at energetically. I just started doing this with a new private client. And we have turned her business around in the matter of days by just changing her language, changing her focus, and realizing that nothing in life has any meaning except for the meaning that you give it. So you can make the delay mean that you're not going to get there, and you're going to have to turn around and go back, and everyone's going to be mad at you that you missed the thing that you were flying there to begin with in the first place. Or you can just say hey, this is one hell of an adventure. I wonder what I'll learn. I wonder who I'll meet. I wonder what the point of this was, right? You get to choose, but it is a moment by moment decision, and the outside noise is loud. And not a lot of people do this work, which is why I'm such a big fan, like I said, of mentorship and community. That's why we have our Facebook group and we have these conversations. That's why I have group coaching programs, because not everybody's having these conversations, but you're here because you want to have these conversations. And I love that for you. So go back through part 1, part 2. If you make just the smallest changes, you will see the biggest change in what actually comes to fruition in your life. See you in the next show. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Uncensored Self Podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that that's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.